The Tower of Golden Dreams, Rapunzel's epic tale. What if I told you that a single flower could change the course of 3 lives forever? What if that same flower could lead to love, betrayal, and a curse that would span decades? Tonight, we're diving deep into a tale that goes far beyond what you might remember from your childhood. This isn't just the story of Rapunzel. It's the story of desperate love, magical bargains, and the price we pay for our deepest desires. Picture this: a couple who had tried for years to have a child, watching helplessly as hope slipped away with each passing season. A garden so enchanted that just looking at it could drive someone mad with longing. And a tower so tall and isolated that it might as well have been on another planet entirely. Settle in, because what you're about to hear will make you question everything you thought you knew about this classic tale. The real story is so much darker, so much more complex, and so much more beautiful than anyone ever told you. Let's begin at the very beginning, in a small cottage where 2 people were slowly losing themselves to despair. Hush, the desperate beginning in a village, nestled between rolling green hills and whispering forests. There lived a man named Wilhelm and his beloved wife Cordelia. Their cottage was modest but warm, with ivy creeping up the stone walls and a garden that Wilhelm tended with careful hands. But for all the beauty that surrounded them, their home felt incomplete. For 7 long years, they had prayed, hoped, and wished for a child. Cordelia would often stand by their bedroom window in the early morning light, watching other women in the village chase after their little ones, their laughter echoing through the cobblestone streets. Wilhelm would find her there sometimes, her hand pressed against the glass, silent tears streaming down her cheeks. "Perhaps it's not meant to be, my love," Wilhelm would whisper, wrapping his arms around her trembling shoulders. But Cordelia would shake her head, her voice barely above a whisper. "I can feel it, Wilhelm. Something is changing. I can feel hope stirring in my heart again." And indeed, something was changing. Autumn had painted the world in shades of gold and crimson, and Cordelia began to notice subtle shifts in her body. Her heart would flutter with a hope she dared not name, but she kept her suspicions close to her chest, afraid that speaking them aloud might somehow chase the miracle away. Their little cottage sat at the edge of the village, and behind it stretched what the locals whispered about in hushed tones: the enchanted garden of Dame The garden was a sight to behold, even from a distance. Ancient stone walls, nearly 20 feet high, surrounded acres of the most extraordinary plants anyone had ever seen. Flowers bloomed there in impossible colors, roses that shimmered like jewels, lilies that glowed with their own inner light, and herbs that seemed to dance even when there was no breeze. But what caught Cordelia's attention most of all was a patch of the most vibrant, luminous green she had ever witnessed. The rampion grew there in perfect rows, its leaves so rich and verdant they seemed to pulse with life itself. The plant called to something deep within her soul, as if her very essence recognized it as something she desperately needed. "Wilhelm," she called one crisp October morning, her voice trembling with an emotion she couldn't quite name. "Come here, quickly." Wilhelm hurried to where his wife stood by their small kitchen window, the one that offered the clearest view of the forbidden garden. When he saw what had captured her attention, his breath caught in his throat. "The rampion," Cordelia whispered, pressing both hands against the glass. "Oh, Wilhelm," I've never seen anything so beautiful. Look how it seems to glow in the morning light." Wilhelm wrapped his arms around his wife from behind, feeling the way she trembled against him. "It is beautiful, my dear one. Dame Gothel certainly has a gift for growing things." But as the days passed, Wilhelm began to notice a change in his beloved wife. She would stand at that window for hours, staring at the rampion with an intensity that worried him. She barely touched her meals, pushing food around her plate absently, while her gaze kept drifting toward the garden. "Cordelia, love, you must eat," Wilhelm would plead. But she would simply shake her head. "Nothing tastes right anymore," she would murmur. "Everything is so bland, so colorless. I can't stop thinking about how fresh and vibrant that rampion must taste. I dream about it." "Wilhelm, every night I dream of eating those perfect green leaves." Wilhelm watched helplessly as his wife grew paler and thinner with each passing day. The hope that had been blossoming within her seemed to be consuming her from the inside out. Dark circles appeared under her eyes, and her once rosy cheeks became hollow and wan. "Please," she whispered to him one evening as autumn deepened into winter. "Please, Will, if I can't taste that rampion, I fear I shall waste away completely. This child growing within me, ... It craves that plant as much as I do. I can feel it calling to us both." Wilhelm's heart nearly stopped. "Child," he breathed, hardly daring to believe. Cordelia nodded, tears streaming down her face. "I've been afraid to say it aloud, but yes, after all these years, we're finally going to have a baby." "But Wilhelm, I'm so frightened. This longing for the ramp, by-o-n ... It's not natural. It's as if some force is compelling me toward it. If I don't satisfy this craving soon, I fear what might happen to both me and our child." That night, Wilhelm paced the floor of their cottage long after Cordelia had fallen into a restless sleep. The wind howled outside their windows, and bare tree branches scraped against the walls like skeletal fingers. The very thought of entering Dame Gothel's garden filled him with dread, but watching his wife waste away filled him with something even worse: desperation. Dame Gothel was legendary throughout the region, though few had ever seen her face. Some said she was a healer who could cure any ailment with her magical herbs. Others whispered that she was a witch who could curse anyone who crossed her. But everyone agreed on one thing: her power was real, and it was dangerous. As the clock in their sitting room chimed midnight, Wilhelm made his decision. He kissed his sleeping wife's forehead gently, whispering a prayer for courage, and slipped out into the bitter winter night. Hush, hush. The first transgression, the garden walls, loomed even higher in the darkness, their ancient stones slick with frost and shadow. Wilhelm had brought a rope and grappling hook, tools he'd used in his younger days when he'd worked as a builder. His hands shook as he secured the hook and began his climb, every scrape of his boots against the stone sounding like thunder in the still night air. When he finally hauled himself over the wall, what he saw took his breath away. Even in the dead of winter, Dame Gothel's garden was alive with impossible beauty. Flowers bloomed despite the frost, their petals glowing with soft, ethereal light. The air itself seemed to shimmer with magic, warm and sweet, despite the freezing temperature outside the walls. But Wilhelm had eyes only for the rampion up close, It was even more magnificent than it had appeared from their window. The leaves were so green they seemed to contain the essence of spring itself, and when he reached out to touch them, they felt warm and alive beneath his fingertips. He gathered as much as he dared, stuffing the precious leaves into the sack he'd brought with him. Every moment felt like an eternity, and he kept glancing over his shoulder, expecting to see dim Gothel materializing from the shadows. But the garden remained silent except for the soft whisper of the wind through the magical plants. When he finally made it back to their cottage, Cordelia was waiting for him in the kitchen, her face radiant with hope for the first time in weeks. "You did it!" she breathed, reaching for the sack with trembling hands. "Oh, Wilhelm, you wonderful, brave man." She prepared the rampion immediately, washing each leaf with reverent care before arranging them in a simple salad. When she took her first bite, the change in her was immediate and dramatic. Color flooded back into her cheeks, her eyes brightened, and for the first time in months, she looked truly alive. "It's incredible," she whispered between bites. "It tastes like sunshine and spring rain and hope all mixed together. I can feel our baby responding to it, Wilhelm. I can feel our child growing stronger." Wilhelm watched his wife devour the entire bowl of rampion, relief flooding through him. Perhaps this one transgression would be enough. Perhaps, now that she'd satisfied the craving, they could return to their normal lives and prepare for their child's arrival in peace. But he was wrong. The next morning, Cordelia was back at the window, staring at the rampion patch with even greater intensity than before. "I need more," she told him, her voice filled with desperate hunger. "Wilhelm, you don't understand. What I ate last night, it was just a taste. I need so much more. The baby needs more. I can feel it calling to me, stronger than ever." "Cordelia, please," Wilhelm begged. "What if Dame Gothel catches me? What if she curses us both?" "Then let her curse us," Cordelia cried, her hands pressed against her still flat belly. "Because if I don't get more of that rampion, we'll lose this baby, Wilhelm. I can feel it. This child needs that plant to survive. It's as essential as air or water." And so, the very next night, Wilhelm found himself climbing the garden wall once again. This time, he took even more rampion, his guilt warring with his love for his wife and unborn child. When he brought it home, Cordelia consumed it with the same desperate hunger as before. But it still wasn't enough. Night after night, Wilhelm made the treacherous journey over the wall. Each time, he took more rampion than the time before. Cordelia's appetite for the magical plant seemed to grow exponentially. With each passing day, she would eat nothing else, surviving entirely on the glowing green leaves that sustained both her and the child growing within her. "I know this isn't natural," she told Wilhelm one evening as she prepared yet another bowl of rampion salad. "I know there's something magical happening to us, but Wilhelm, I've never felt so alive, so connected to this life inside me. When I eat the rampion, I can hear our baby's heartbeat. I can feel its tiny movements. It's as if the plant is creating a bridge between us." Wilhelm nodded, though his heart was heavy with dread. He could see that his wife was changing in ways that went beyond mere pregnancy. Her hair had taken on an almost luminescent quality. Her skin glowed with an inner light, and sometimes In the right light, he could swear he saw flecks of gold in her eyes. What kind of child are we bringing into the world? He wondered aloud one night as they lay in bed. Cordelia placed his hand on her growing belly, and Wilhelm gasped. He could feel something extraordinary, not just the movement of their child, but something else. Energy, magic, power. A special child, Cordelia whispered. A child touched by magic from the very beginning. Number hush. The reckoning. It was on a particularly cold February night, when the wind howled like a banshee around their cottage, that Wilhelm's luck finally ran out. He had grown, perhaps, too comfortable with his nightly raids on the enchanted garden. The routine had become almost mundane. Climb the wall, gather the rampion, return home to his grateful wife. But as he knelt among the glowing plants, filling his sack with the precious leaves, a voice like winter frost spoke from the darkness behind him. Well, 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 what have we here? Wilhelm's blood turned to ice in his veins. He spun around to find himself face to face with Dame Gothel herself, and she was far more terrifying than any of the village stories had prepared him for. She was tall and angular, with silver hair that seemed to move with a life of its own, and eyes that gleamed like polished onyx. In the moonlight, her skin was pale as marble, unmarked by age despite the ancient wisdom that radiated from her very presence. She wore robes that shifted color in the magical light of the garden, now deep purple, now midnight blue, now black as the void between stars. But it was her aura of power that truly struck fear into Wilhelm's heart. Magic crackled around her like electricity, making the air itself buzz with dangerous energy. This was not simply a woman who grew magical plants. This was a force of nature, a being whose power had deep roots in the very fabric of reality itself. A thief, she continued, her voice carrying an otherworldly quality that seemed to echo from multiple directions at once. A common thief, skulking about my garden like a rat. Tell me, little man, how long have you been stealing from me? Wilhelm's throat was so dry, he could barely speak. Please, he managed to croak. I can explain. Oh, I'm sure you can, Dame Gothel said with a smile that never reached her eyes. But first, let me guess. Your wife is with child, isn't she? And she's developed quite the craving for my rampion. Wilhelm's eyes widened in shock. How did you... ... How did I... know? Dame Gothel laughed, and the sound was like wind chimes made of ice. Foolish man! Do you think anything happens in my garden without my knowledge? Every leaf you've taken, every step you've made, I've been aware of it all. I've been watching you stumble about my sacred space, night after night, taking what doesn't belong to you. Then why didn't you stop me sooner? Wilhelm asked, confusion mixing with his terror. Dame Gothel's expression grew thoughtful, almost pleased, because, my dear thief, your wife's craving for my rampion is no accident. The child she carries, it's special, very special indeed. The rampion calls to those touched by magic. You see, your wife has been chosen. Chosen for what? To bear a child of extraordinary power, Dame Gothel replied, beginning to circle around Wilhelm like a predator stalking its prey. A child who will be blessed with gifts beyond ordinary human comprehension. The Rampion has been preparing both mother and child for something wonderful. Wilhelm clutched the sack of Rampion to his chest. I don't understand. Of course you don't, Dame Gothel said dismissively. How could you? You're merely human, with a human's limited perspective. But I am offering you a choice. Thief, I could curse you and your wife. I could wither your crops, sour your milk, and make your lives a living hell until the day you die. Or, ... double quotes. She paused dramatically, her dark eyes boring into Wilhelm's soul. Or you could give me something of equal value to what you've stolen. Anything, Wilhelm said immediately. Whatever you want. Gold, land, my service for the rest of my life. I want your child. The words hit Wilhelm like a physical blow. What? Your child, Dame Gothel repeated calmly. The magical child your wife carries. Give me the child, and I will not only forgive your thievery, but I will ensure that both mother and baby survive the birth healthy and strong. I will care for the child as if it were my own. I will nurture its magical gifts and raise it to be everything it's destined to become. You're asking me to give you my baby, Wilhelm whispered, horror and disbelief warring in his voice. I'm offering to give your child a life of wonder and magic, Dame Gothel countered, in your little cottage, surrounded by ordinary people. What kind of life could such a special child have? The girl would be feared, shunned, perhaps even persecuted for her gifts. With me, she will be treasured, trained, and transformed into something magnificent. Gura, Wilhelm asked weakly. Dame Gothel smiled. Oh yes, it's a girl who will have hair like spun gold and a voice that can charm birds from the trees. A girl who will be beautiful beyond description and gifted with powers you can't even imagine. Do you really want to doom such a creature to a mundane existence? Wilhelm's mind raced. The thought of giving up his child was unbearable. But Dame Gothel's words held a terrible logic. If the child was truly magical, what kind of life would she have in their simple village? And more importantly, what would Dame Gothel do to them if he refused? Double quotes, he began, then stopped. The image of Cordelia's face, radiant with joy as she felt their baby move within her, flashed through his mind. How could he possibly agree to this? But then he thought of Dame Gothel's power, of the curses she could inflict upon them. If she decided to punish them, they might lose the baby anyway. At least this way, the child would live. She would be safe, he asked in a voice barely above a whisper. Loved. She would be adored, Dame Gothel assured him. I have been alone for so very long, Wilhelm. I need someone to share my knowledge with. Someone to inherit my power. Your daughter will want for nothing. She will live in a world of beauty and magic that most humans can only dream of. Wilhelm closed his eyes, feeling as though his heart was being torn from his chest. But what choice did he really have? If I agree, he said slowly, will you let us keep her until she's born? Will you let Cordelia hold her, even if just for a moment? Dame Gothel considered this. Very well. Well, I will allow the child to be born in your home, and your wife may hold her briefly. But then she comes with me, and you must never seek her out. Is this acceptable? Wilhelm nodded, unable to trust his voice. He felt like he was signing his own soul away, but he couldn't see any other option. Excellent, Dame Gothel said, her smile returning. And to show my good faith, take as much rampion as you need for the remainder of your wife's pregnancy. The child must continue to receive the magical nourishment she requires. Hash. The birth of Wonder Spring arrived with unusual splendor that year, as if the earth itself was celebrating the impending birth of someone special. Cordelia's pregnancy had progressed beautifully, her health and vitality sustained by the magical rampion that Wilhelm continued to harvest from Dame Gothel Escartot. But with each passing day, Wilhelm felt the weight of his bargain pressing down on his soul like a stone. He had told Cordelia nothing about his encounter with the enchantress. How could he explain to his glowing, happy wife that he had already traded away their unborn child? Instead, he watched her prepare their little nursery, knitting tiny blankets and singing lullabies to her growing belly, all while knowing that their joy was built on borrowed time. "She's going to be so beautiful," Cordelia would say, running her hands over her rounded belly. "I can feel it, Wilhelm. This child is going to be extraordinary in every way." If only she knew how right she was. The labor began on a morning when the sun seemed to shine brighter than usual, casting everything in warm, golden light. Cordelia's pains came swiftly and intensely, but she bore them with a strange serenity that Wilhelm had never seen in other women during childbirth. "It's time," she whispered to him as the midwife bustled about their bedroom. "I can feel her calling to the world." And indeed, something magical was happening. As Cordelia's labor progressed, the very air in the room seemed to shimmer with energy. The flowers in their small garden began to bloom out of season, filling the air with incredible fragrances. Even the midwife, a practical woman who had delivered hundreds of babies, kept glancing around nervously as if sensing forces beyond her understanding. When the baby finally emerged into the world, everyone in the room fell silent with wonder. She was, without question, the most beautiful child anyone had ever seen. Her skin glowed with a soft, pearl-like luminescence, and she was crowned with a mass of the finest golden hair anyone could imagine. Hair so bright and lustrous it seemed to be made of actual sunlight. When she opened her eyes for the first time, they were the deep, endless blue of a summer sky, flecked with tiny points of light like distant stars. But most remarkable of all was the way she seemed to bring joy into the world simply by existing. The moment she drew her first breath and let out her first cry, it sounded like the sweetest music. Birds began gathering outside their windows, adding their voices to hers in a symphony of welcome. The very walls of their cottage seemed to glow with warmth and happiness. "Rapunzel," Cordelia whispered, the name coming to her lips as if it had always been there. "Her name is Rapunzel." Wilhelm felt his heart breaking and soaring simultaneously. This child was indeed magical, more wonderful than he had ever imagined possible, and in just a few precious moments, he was going to have to give her away. The midwife handed the baby to Cordelia, who cradled her against her breast with tears of joy streaming down her face. "Hello, my darling girl," she whispered. "Mommy has been waiting so long to meet you." Rapunzel seemed to respond to her mother's voice, turning her little head toward Cordelia and making soft, musical sounds that were almost like singing. Her tiny fingers, perfect and delicate, reached up to touch her mother's face. "She knows me," Cordelia breathed, Look, Wilhelm. She knows me. Wilhelm approached the bed on unsteady legs, his heart hammering in his chest. When he looked down at his daughter, this perfect, magical little being, he felt a love so fierce and immediate that it nearly brought him to his knees. "She's perfect," he whispered, reaching out to touch one tiny golden curl. The hair felt like silk, warm and somehow alive with its own inner light. For one beautiful, terrible moment, Wilhelm almost convinced himself that he could find a way out of his bargain with Dame Go. Surely there had to be some way to protect both his wife and child from the enchantress's power. Surely love this strong could overcome any magical contract. But as if summoned by his thoughts, there came a soft knock at their cottage door. The midwife looked puzzled. Who could that be at this hour? Wilhelm's blood ran cold. He knew exactly who it was. "I'll answer it," he said quietly, kissing his wife's forehead. "You rest, my love. Enjoy this time with our daughter." When he opened the door, Dame Gothel stood on their threshold, but she looked different now, softer, more grandmotherly, with kind eyes and a gentle smile. Her earlier terrifying presence had been replaced by an aura of nurturing warmth that was somehow even more unsettling. "Congratulations," she said softly. "I felt the moment of her birth. The very earth sang with joy." "Please," Wilhelm whispered, glancing back toward the bedroom where his wife and child were waiting. "Give us more time. Just a few days. ... Oh, my dear man," Dame Gothel said, with what seemed like genuine compassion. "The longer you wait, the harder this will be for everyone involved. Better to make a clean break now, while your wife's memories of the birth are still hazy from exhaustion and joy." She stepped past Wilhelm into the cottage, and immediately the air filled with the scent of roses and starlight. "Besides, I have no intention of being cruel about this. Your wife will remember holding her daughter and will be comforted by that memory for the rest of her life. And the child, well, she'll never know any life but the one I give her." Wilhelm followed Dame Gothel into the bedroom, his heart breaking with every step. Cordelia looked up as they entered, her face radiant with new mother's bliss. "Who is this?" she asked, though there was no fear in her voice. Dame Gothel's magic was already working on her, making her feel calm and trusting. "I'm here to help with the baby," Dame Gothel said gently, approaching the bed. "May I see her?" Cordelia hesitated only for a moment before extending little Rapunzel toward the enchantress. "She's so beautiful, isn't she? So perfect." "She is indeed," Dame Gothel agreed, taking the baby into her arms with practiced ease. Rapunzel looked up at her with those star-bright eyes and made a soft sound that might have been contentment. "I will take excellent care of her," Dame Gothel said, and Wilhelm realized she was speaking to both him and Cordelia now. "She will grow up surrounded by beauty and magic, learning things that no ordinary child ever could. She will be happy and safe and loved beyond measure." "I don't understand," Cordelia sighed though. Her voice was dreamy and distant. The enchantment was taking hold, softening the edges of her awareness. "Rest now," Dame Gothel said softly, waving her hand over Cordelia's forehead. "Sleep deeply and dream of your beautiful daughter living a wonderful life in a magical place." Cordelia's eyes fluttered closed, a peaceful smile on her lips. She would sleep for many hours, and when she woke, her memories of this moment would be gentle and hazy, tinged with the warm glow of a mother's love rather than the sharp pain of loss. Dame Gothel turned to Wilhelm, baby Rapunzel still cradled in her arms. "You have made the right choice," she told him quietly. "Your daughter will have a life of wonder that you could never have given her." "Will I ever see her again?" Wilhelm asked, tears streaming down his face. Dame Gothel considered this. "Perhaps," she said finally, "if she chooses to seek you out when she comes of age. But you must never seek her. That was part of our bargain." With that, she walked out of their cottage and into the night, taking Rapunzel with her. Wilhelm stood at his door and watched until they disappeared into the darkness, carrying away his heart and his hope and his precious golden-haired daughter. Behind him, Cordelia slept peacefully, dreaming of her baby girl living happily in a tower made of starlight and song. Hush, hush, growing in the tower. Dame Gothel's tower was nothing like the cold, forbidding prison it might sound like to those who had never seen it. Rising from the heart of the enchanted forest, like a finger pointing toward heaven, it was built of white stone that seemed to glow with its own inner light. Ivy covered in flowers that never wilted climbed its walls, and windows at various levels looked out over vistas of impossible beauty. Inside, every room was a wonderland, designed with a growing child in mind. The walls were painted with murals that moved and changed with Rapunzel's Mutze, sometimes showing peaceful meadows full of dancing butterflies, other times displaying grand ballrooms where elegant figures waltzed to silent music. Books lined shelves that reached impossibly high ceilings. And when Rapunzel wanted to read one that was out of reach, she had only to ask, and it would float gently down into her hands. Dame Gothel proved to be everything she had promised Wilhelm. She would be a devoted, loving guardian who treated Rapunzel like the most precious treasure in all the world. She taught the girl everything she could. Languages both human and magical, music that could charm the very stones, art that could capture not just images, but emotions and dreams. "You are special, my darling girl," Dame Gothel would tell her every day, as she brushed Rapunzel's ever-growing golden hair. "More special than you can possibly imagine. Everything you need, everything you could ever want, is right here in our beautiful tower." And for many years, Rapunzel believed this was true. How could she not? Her world was filled with beauty and wonder. She had books that told her stories of far-off places, magical mirrors that showed her scenes from across the world, and Dame Gothel's constant, devoted attention. But as she grew from a precocious child into a curious young woman, questions began to form in her mind. "Mother Gothel," she said one day as they shared their evening meal in the tower's highest room, "why do we never leave the tower? Surely there must be wonderful things to see in the world beyond our forest." Dame Gothel's expression grew troubled. "Oh, my dear child, the world beyond our forest is full of danger and darkness. People out there are cruel and jealous. They would hurt you. Or worse, they would try to steal away your magic for their own purposes. Here, you are safe. Here, you are protected." "But surely not everyone in the world is cruel," Rapunzel pressed. "In the stories you've read to me, there are kind people who help each other and fall in love and create beautiful things together. Stories are just stories." "Darling," Dame Gothel said firmly, "reality is much harsher. Trust me, I have lived in the world, and I know its ways. You are much better off here, where nothing can hurt you." Rapunzel accepted this explanation, as she always did. But the questions continued to grow stronger with each passing year. When she was 15, she began to notice that the mirror's dame, Gothel, used to show her scenes from the outside world, always seemed to display the same types of images, storms and battles. People arguing and fighting, sadness and suffering. Never did she see the beautiful sunrise over distant mountains, lovers walking hand in hand through flower-filled meadows, or families laughing together around dinner tables. It was around this time that Rapunzel's hair began to display its most remarkable property. It had always been beautiful, thick and lustrous and bright as spun gold. But now it began to grow at an extraordinary rate. Every month, it seemed to add several feet to its length, until it became so long that she had to braid it and wind it around special hooks to keep from tripping over it. "Your hair is your greatest gift, darling," Dame Gothel told her, as she performed the daily ritual of brushing out the magnificent locks. "It contains more magic than most people could accumulate in a lifetime of study. With this hair, you could perform miracles." "What kind of miracles?" Rapunzel asked, fascinated. "Healing miracles," Dame Gothel explained. "Your hair could cure any disease, mend any wound, even bring someone back from the very brink of death. But that's exactly why you must never leave the tower, my dear. If people knew about your gift, they would never stop hunting you. They would capture you and use you until there was nothing left." This explanation satisfied Rapunzel for a time, but it also filled her with a strange sense of responsibility. If she could heal people, shouldn't she be doing so? Weren't there people out there who needed her help? But Dame Gothel was quick to counter these thoughts whenever they arose. "You cannot save everyone, darling," she would say. "If you tried, you would only exhaust yourself and probably end up captured by people who want to exploit your gifts. The best thing you can do is preserve your power here, where it's safe, for some truly important purpose that may arise in the future." And so Rapunzel continued to grow and learn within the walls of her beautiful prison, her questions and doubts carefully managed by Dame Gothel's loving but manipulative care. By the time she reached her 18th birthday, Rapunzel had become everything Dame Gothel had predicted she would be. She was breathtakingly beautiful, with her river of golden hair and eyes like sapphires. Her voice could charm birds from the trees and make flowers bloom out of season. She was intelligent and well-read, artistic and musical, kind-hearted and generous. But she was also desperately lonely. "Mother Gothel," she said one day as they sat in the tower's garden room, surrounded by plants that grew in impossible profusion despite having no access to natural sunlight. "Do you think I'll ever have a friend, someone my own age to talk to and laugh with?" Dame Gothel's expression grew pained. "Oh, my darling girl, you have me. Isn't that enough?" "Of course you're wonderful," Rapunzel said quickly, "and I'm grateful for everything you've given me. But sometimes I wonder what it would be like to know someone who was unresponsible for taking care of me. Someone who chose to spend time with me simply because they enjoyed my company. People your age are foolish and shallow," Dame Gothel said dismissively. "They would be jealous of your beauty and your gifts. They would pretend to be your friends only to get close to your magic. Trust me, darling, you're much better off with just me." But even as Rapunzel nodded her agreement, her heart ached with longing for something she couldn't quite name, she began spending more and more time at the tower's highest window, looking out over the forest and wondering what lay beyond the horizon. Sometimes she would sing to ease the loneliness, and her voice would carry 4 miles through the trees. Though she didn't know it, she had no idea that someone was listening. Hush, hush. The Prince in the Forest. Prince Adrian had been riding through the forest for 3 days, following reports of a strange phenomenon that had been troubling the kingdom's border regions. Travelers spoke of an enchanted wood where the trees grew too tall, the flowers bloomed too brightly, and the very air seemed to shimmer with unnatural energy. Some claimed to have heard the most beautiful singing coming from deep within the forest, though no one had been brave enough to investigate its source. Adrian was different from most princes of his generation, while his brothers were content to spend their time at court, attending endless ceremonies and political gatherings. Adrian felt called to adventure. He wanted to see the far corners of his father's kingdom, to meet his people and understand their lives, to discover the mysteries that lay hidden in wild places. He was also something of a romantic, though he tried to keep that aspect of his personality hidden from the cynical courtiers who surrounded his family. While other young nobles pursued marriages of political convenience, Adrian dreamed of finding someone who would love him for who he truly was, not for his crown or his wealth. So, when reports of mysterious singing in an enchanted forest reached his ears, Adrian saw an opportunity for the kind of adventure he craved. The forest was indeed as strange and beautiful as the travelers had described. Ancient trees stretched toward the sky like cathedral pillars, their branches woven together so thickly that they blocked out most of the sunlight. Thank you for allowing me to be a part of your night. May you find deep peace and restful sleep. Wishing you the sweetest dreams. If you liked it, please like, comment, and subscribe. Bye.